Hey ladies, so today I have something special for you. We're changing it up. I have been going back, well not me, my amazing team has been going back and asking some of the other podcasts that I've actually been on if we could utilize that interview on Mom is in Control. So throughout the weeks to come, you may hear some interviews that I've done in the past with other people. So let's dive into today's episode. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know what you think.
Welcome. This is Samantha Skelly, and you are listening to the Hungry for Happiness podcast, where we dig deep and discover how to reconnect into your body, heal your relationship to food, and finally feel the liberation and freedom you desire. Kleenex is encouraged, and pants are optional.
What's up, Phoenixes, and welcome back to the Hungry for Happiness podcast. My name is Brittany Pollard, and I am the podcast producer for our lovely show host, Samantha Skelly. You are now listening to episode 063, How to Own Your Power and Change Your Life with Heather Chauvin. This was one of those juicy, real, raw, open and honest conversations that I truly love and adore. And I love when we get these types of guests on the shows because I get really engaged in the conversation. You know, it's one of those shows where you want to kick back on the couch and you're just listening in, and it's a lot of those oh yeah, I get you. I'm totally there with you. And it just makes you really extract all the information. Heather spoke about how we can change our relationship to fear and challenges, because regardless of what stage we feel like we're at in life, regardless of how successful we feel, how much money we're making, how many kids we have, there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be fear. There's always going to be something that we're going to have to work with. So Heather really brings that to the table and sheds light on how we can learn to work with those instead of against them. She also spoke about simple, easy ways to manifest what we want, because that is going to look different for everyone. And what I found just listening to the episode was it's not as hard as we make it to be. So that was like a really golden nugget of mine. And I definitely recommend to listen in, because there was just so much information that I extracted from the show, and it just makes me really excited for you all to hear it. So Heather Chauvin has been named the next generation's thought leader in parenting and women's leadership. Her mission is to crack women open to their deep potential and help them create the life their soul craves. She is the creator of the new and noteworthy podcast, the Mom is in Control podcast, and has been featured on the OWN Network, Huffington Post, TV outlets, and others. Through her Courageous Rewrite initiative, Heather gives voice to many humans who courageously took inspired action to create lives they're proud of. With wit and wisdom, Heather inspires a global community of women to take back control of their lives and evolve how they lead, work, play, and parent. I hope you enjoy this episode.
What's up, Phoenixes, and welcome back to the Hungry for Happiness podcast. I have Heather Chauvin on the show today. I am very excited to open up this conversation of motherhood, being a mother, whatever kind of mother that is, and just talking about the dynamics of how to truly honor ourselves while we are playing these incredibly important roles in the world. So thank you so much for being here, Heather.
I am so excited. I love, yes, it's going to be a juicy one.
It's going to be, I can feel it already. I just told her before I press record, I'm like, I like you already. Let's do this. I love when I have, like, you and I have never spoken before. We've never met before, but I love when I have that like instant, like, I like you before I record a podcast. I'm like, ooh, this is going to be good.
You can always tell when you're listening to those conversations. You're like, they weren't feeling it. They weren't feeling it.
So the first question we ask is, what is the number one thing about life that makes you feel most alive?
So when you ask me this question, I think about the most terrifying moment in my life when I was actually had to make the decision of whether I was choosing to live or not. And I would say that's when you feel fear. Mm-hmm. And yeah, like so much of my life, I didn't even realize I wasn't living until I was paralyzed in fear, knowing that I might die.
Holy. Yeah. We've never gotten that answer. Fear. You know, when people think of like the sensation of aliveness, we often get like love and connection, and that's cool. But like, it's so true. Like fear activates our body in a way that nothing else does. So I'm curious, what was that experience?
So 4.5 years ago, I was doing what every good business owner does. #hustle.
Right,
and I was busting my booty. My boys, they're now 13, 8, and 5. The youngest was 4. The youngest was a year old 4 years ago. So I was breastfeeding, wasn't paying attention to my body, was barely eating, not getting good sleep. And these things are possible when you have a newborn, by the way, maybe not to the quality of, always when they're older. But my point is it doesn't need to become your norm. And I just, I wore that badge of honor of chronic fatigue and numbness. Like, look at me. Yeah, I got baby shit in my hair and I haven't taken a shower in a week. Look at me, guys. Oh, Heather, you are a super mom.
Right.
And my body was just telling me over and over and over again, pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. And for the first time in my life, I'm like, what does this mean? Like, I've never paid attention to you. I've never paid something else I need to pay attention to. I'm exhausted. I don't like this.
Right.
So I went to the hospital after my husband made me go to the hospital, and my abdomen was swollen, and they did a CT and blood work. And I kid you not, on the spot, they told me I had cancer.
Wow.
And I already knew. I was, when you get that gut confirmation.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
It's like that dull, like feeling in your body, like, yep, this is it. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. Wow. So from that experience, have you changed the relationship you have to fear? I think so often for those people listening, they have such a dysfunctional relationship with fear and they avoid it at all costs. Have you shifted that relationship with fear? Like how does it show up in your life now?
That's such a good question. Okay. So fear was this negative association. So I love that book, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Oh, so very good. I'm actually looking at that book. As you said that, my eyes were gazing at my bookshelf. Of course.
Of course you are. That's just how the universe works, right? So I can't paraphrase that book, but what I took away from that book is we are going to co-create our life, especially our creative lives. And your life is this masterpiece. So you are going to if you choose to consciously create your life the way you want it to, you want to feel good, you want to think outside of the box, you want to go for it in your career, you want to shift your relationships. That's creation. That's creativity. Fear will always be there. You just got to choose like, hey, you're not in the driver's seat today.
Right.
So fear was running my life before. I'm afraid that my children are going to be failures. I mean, my son, when he was 4 years old, didn't know how to, control his anger or anxiety. So I made him meditate. Okay. I made him meditate. And I laugh now because I was like, sit down and meditate, when really it was me. It was me who needed to meditate so that I could see what was going on with him.
Right.
What was he trying to tell me? Because if I have a tool or a strategy for something and I feel in control, hence why my podcast is called Mom is in Control. If I feel in control of my emotional health or whatever aspect of my life that I'm trying to control in others, then I'll know how to guide them rather than try to manipulate, control, and be reactive. So fear was that for me. I didn't know how to control fear. So I would just let it run the show and I would just sleep. That was my drug of choice. Like, oh, I'm tired. I'm just going to sleep.
Oh gosh. Yep. Right. I feel you.
Socially, we can have naps. It's socially acceptable. Oh, you're tired. Sleep. And then I realized that fear was actually stopping me from pushing through to the next level in all aspects of my life, like business, money, health, time, relationships, energy, all of that. So when your body is saying sleep, but your brain is saying, oh, I should go even for a walk. No, right? Oh, I should write that one email, but I don't have any energy. I had to figure out how to hijack this little, life hack, whatever you want to call it, fear and the emotions, the fear, the guilt, the overwhelm, and go, no. I see what you're trying to do here. You're trying to keep me safe. And that big aha moment for me, I remember one night I was lying on the floor in the bathroom in fetal position, just woke up. This is when I was going through treatment, and I was in kind of recovery state, and I'm like, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. And my children are not going to have a mother. And I wanted to sob, like, those gross sobs, like snot coming out of your nose. And you're just like, you can't catch your breath.
Yeah.
But I couldn't let it out because I was terrified that if my children heard me or my husband heard me, they're going to think something bad is happening. So for whatever reason, I should have just went in the car and screamed bloody murder or something, but I didn't. So I'm in the bathroom and I'm just holding it in. And I remember having this feeling of like, what are you going to do about it, Heather? You're scared. What's the opposite of fear? Love. What's the opposite? Like, what am I? It's like, okay, if you're afraid to die, then what are you really afraid of? And I'm like, I don't know how to live.
Wow.
I don't know how to feel alive.
Oh my God. I got full body goosebumps.
Yeah.
I don't know how to live. Okay. So when you were in the bathroom in fetal position and you had that realization, what was the next perspective that you had?
I had to figure it out. In that moment, I felt like I was backed into a corner, and all my survival instincts, it wasn't fight or flight. I guess it was, but I had to turn my fight into learning how to live, because it was like, Heather, what do you want in your life? And oftentimes I have the exact same conversations with my clients, and they're like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm like, then why are you here? Why are we having this conversation? What brought you here? This feeling, this ache, something inside of me that wants more. I'm like, then what is that? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And then after, I was just like, what is it? What is it? What is it? And I would take a pen and a paper and I'd write, I want. And I'd write, I don't know, for 20 minutes sometimes.
Right.
And I would say, I want a bath. I want to go for a walk. I want a coffee date with this particular friend. I want my mother to see and accept me for who I am. I want my dad to notice me. I want to feel really connected to my husband. Like, and some of these were like big things, like, okay, I got to heal my childhood wounds now. But then some of them were little things, like I want a bath. I want to go for a walk. I want a new t-shirt. I want, to get my mustache waxed. Like I want to get my eyebrows done.
I love it.
I want little things. Right. And so it was those little things that I felt I had control over. So what I did was then I started taking the things that I did have control over. So I'm going to have a bath. Then I need to create space for a bath. I can go get my eyebrows done. Well, at that point, I didn't have any eyebrows. They all fell out. But little things, I could call this friend and ask for a coffee date, little things that I did have control over. And then I just kept doing that over and over again. What do I want? What do I want? What do I want? And it felt like, Samantha, it felt like I was lost in the woods and almost dying. Like they found me and they're like, what are you doing, Heather? Like, I don't think your pulse is barely there. And instead of, because you can't give me the whole jug of water, I'll choke, right? So dehydrated, so like neglected. My soul is literally ready to leave my body. And I had to fight. I'm like, come back, come back, come back. So I had to give myself little sips of inspiration and slowly get myself back to life.
Oh my gosh. That's so beautiful. I love the low-hanging fruit that we all have access to that we don't take advantage of because we don't acknowledge it. The what do I want conversation is so important for the health of our soul. Like, what is it that I really want right now? Not what's productive, not what other people want me to do, but what is just going to allow me to be in that state of just desire and expansion.
Yeah. It's really interesting because I was just having this me and my husband have this conversation a lot. Last year, he quit his 9-to-5 job and started his own little gig. And I didn't realize how much I needed him around, meaning like missing that connection piece. I mean, entrepreneurship, working from home when your kids are in school or somewhere else is isolating. Yeah. But watching in the back, we have a pool, and we were in the pool and just doing nothing, like just chilling right before this conversation. And the kids are just doing nothing. My little one's playing with Legos. My oldest is in the water, and the other one is just, I don't know, picking flowers or dandelions. And I'm like, this is it. And being there, like content, not going, I need to do this. I need to do that. Guys, hurry up. We got to do this. It was like, I don't care where I am in the world. This is what we are all after, to be here and present and content.
So true. Even when I am going through my day and I just take a moment and like literally just like step back and observe my situation and feel deeply into my experience and into my body, it's like everything stops. And I'm like, this feeling that I'm intentionally creating right now in this moment is the one that my ego is constantly chasing, but I can choose to experience it and feel it when I decide. It's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's so very weird. But at the same time, I think because I have this weird, and I say weird, but it's not really that weird, abnormal relationship to death. I feel like I was so close to the ledge, and then I'm like, okay, I got to turn around. I'm going to try this again. I don't really think, that's a whole nother conversation of was it choice and blah, blah, blah. But I know that everything is temporary.
Right.
And I know that like this moment is temporary. Everything is temporary. My good mood is temporary.
Right.
And my health is temporary. And I can choose, just like I did back then, to, create positive habits every day to generate this energy within my body and within my life and my parenting and relationships and business. Or I can choose to just let fear run the show. And it's a very conscious thing. And it's always this slippery slope. And I do understand that once I stop, if I decide, okay, I've made enough, or I have enough energy, I'm going to stop eating healthy. I'm going to stop working out. I'm going to stop, all the habits that I do understand that this is temporary and it can all come back. But it doesn't need to come from a place of fear. It's like, oh, look it, and just understand that that's temporary. Tornado can come through. The wind will start. This rain will happen. And then at the end, the clouds will part. So it's magic.
It is magic. I'm so curious to hear the granular. So if you are noticing you're operating from a space of fear, and maybe you have that like overachiever / perfectionist, like running the show, what is your process in the moment to shift yourself back into a place of thriving and operating from a place of love?
So I was laughing because I'm like, I work with all of those people and they just hate me because I remember when people be present, focus on your breath. And I'm like, shut up, stop telling me that. Think about, perfectionism, type A, ambitious, go, whatever you want to call yourself. Think about how many years it has taken you to condition yourself to become that person.
Totally.
And then all of a sudden you're like, this is not working for me. I'm burnt out. I'm miserable. I'm unhealthy. Everything is falling apart around me. And I don't understand these people who say life is easy and live in the moment. So it depends on where somebody is at. But what I do say to people is I don't even want to go as far as saying you do have a choice. What I want to say is you can stop. So stop what you're doing. I don't care if you have to pull over on the side of the road and safely put your four ways on or something and just stop what you're doing. Think about what is going on in your mind. Like, holy crap, there is a tornado going on in there. And breathe. Simply inhale, use these lungs that are inside of your body. Everyone's got them. They're working because you're listening to this.
Yep.
And take a deep inhale and a deep exhale. And then go, what the heck is happening to me? And if you can't organize your thoughts, then get a pen and paper and verbal diarrhea that crap on that page and see if you can categorize them. But if you do not stop, if you do not think, and if you do not breathe, nobody else is going to do it for you.
I love the point you said that, say someone's 40 years old. They have 40 say 30 years of learning to hustle for their worth and be overachieving perfectionist, et cetera, et cetera. And then, they come to that breaking point. They're like, this is not working. I'm so unhappy. I'm so stressed out. And then they try to, the methods that you talked about. And then they're like, oh, this is not working. It's like, we need like a perspective shift in that moment to go like, look at how much practice you have from operating from fear. Like operating from love, although it is our natural state, it's not what we're used to because we've been so conditioned differently. So for those people listening, like be patient, be kind. Like every moment is a new opportunity to choose love.
Mm-hmm. And if you can't give it to yourself, because that's really uncomfortable at first, give it to as many people as possible.
Oh, I love that.
And it could be something, in motherhood, for me, it was, when a child is doing something that traditionally I would yell at, which I have to say, I don't really yell anymore. I would just say, I love you, like out loud. So now it's funny when my oldest, he's 13, when we argue, he will end the conversation with, I love you.
That is the sweetest thing ever.
Yeah. And it's like, we can argue, we can have disagreements, but we still respect each other. And it's like, I love you. I love you. Or it's almost that thing of like, you're pissing me off. Stop it. So he'll go, I love you, Mom. I love you. Kind of like, okay, stop. So, and just giving love to others. I went to, you're Canadian. Do you guys have Tim Hortons in Vancouver?
Oh, do we ever?
Okay.
Timmy's. It was like my go-to.
Yes. I had a cousin who came from California. I'm like, you want to go to Tim's? He's like, who's Tim? So anyways, for those who don't know, Tim Hortons is a coffee shop, but, I went through the drive-thru the other day and I didn't have enough like coins on me. I got like a small black coffee. So I was going to use debit because I'm one of those people. And I said, oh, I only have $1. And it was like $1.55. And she looked at me like dead straight in the eyes. And she said, have a beautiful day, and gave me the coffee.
Oh,
and I was like, wow, thank you. I spent a lot of money here. Thank you for that one free coffee.
Wow.
That was amazing.
That's so beautiful.
But honestly, my heart was full. And then that just ripples out, right? Like I'm nicer when I'm driving. I'm actually like holding this cup of bean juice, I like to call it, like this. I'm like, what the heck is this shit? I love it. We love it so much. I actually don't drink that much coffee, but that's another conversation. And I'm holding it with love. I'm thinking about that woman that gave it to me rather than here. And then she doesn't make eye contact and she's like, okay, move on, like hurry up, right? We got to get to the next person. So it's like, how can we learn to lead our lives from a place of love? And whether that's your parenting, your business, your money, your time, your energy, realizing that we can have fear, we can have guilt, we can have overwhelm and all of those, socially acceptable emotions, but we can also shift it and say, you know what? I don't agree with you, but that's okay. I still respect you. I still love you. And it does take practice.
Absolutely. I was having a conversation with my boyfriend a couple weeks ago. And I just said to him, I'm like, why does there have to be so much like martyrism with motherhood? I find that like so many women that I speak to, they don't have anything nice to say about motherhood, like maybe after getting through the first 10 layers of them bitching and complaining about how hard it is, then maybe it's like, but it's pretty good. It's like, why does there have to be that? And so I said to him, I was like, I want a role model. I want a mother role model of women who take martyrism out of motherhood and operate from love and do parenting differently. And then lo and behold, my producer booked you on the show and I creeped through everything you have ever written, I think. And I was like, okay, this is someone I really want to model after. Because I just think your way of being and just some of the things that you've shared are so powerful. And so I would just love to talk about what is the conscious choice that you've made to take martyrism out of motherhood? And is it challenging? Is it difficult? What's your experience been like? Was there a shift? Have you always been this way? I'd love for you just to share from that place.
Okay. First, I want to huge props for even just bringing up this conversation because it's a hugely taboo subject. you go to the bookstore and it's like mommy time on a frickin' wine glass.
Right.
Or, full of coffee. I run on caffeine, and
Totally.
and it drives me nuts. And I'll pull back the curtains a little bit. And this is something I'm going through right now. I feel like a lone wolf. I feel like I have this secret sauce that, somehow, clearly, we can talk about the journey. It definitely hasn't been easy, but I don't get it. I don't understand it, and I never have. So I became a mother when I was 18 years old. And so right off the bat, I didn't fit the mold for traditional motherhood. So I was already judged and labeled as a, statistic. And my mantra at the time, which I didn't even know what a mantra was back then, was I will never become a statistic. Never. So I had this internal drive when I looked at my son. I'm like, I need to become the person that I want you to be. And, everyone's like, Heather's not going to get educated. Good. She'll probably live in her mother's basement for the rest of her life. This was like, the projection of where I was going before I became a mother. And I was just like, screw you, world. That was my motivation. I was driven by anger, which clearly after a while I had to get rid of, but it did get me very far. And I just did everything in my power, and I watched and observed people. So at the time I'm 18 in my, early 20s, and I'm watching people who are in their 30s, in their 40s, tell me how difficult parenting is going to be, how difficult life is going to be. And not to say that I didn't suffer and struggle and, have my fair share, but I always had this thought that, but you have a choice. I remember one of my kids' teachers saying, and this, of course, she's an older woman, so she's so much wiser than me, enter sarcasm. And I think it was last year or the year before, I went away. I was gone to like a retreat or a conference for a few days. So therefore I wasn't home with my children because my husband had to quote unquote babysit his own children. So last time I seen her, she goes, "Oh, you weren't in town?" And I was like, "No, I was gone away for whatever." She goes, "Oh, must be nice. Must be nice." She goes, "The only vacation I had when my children were younger was when I was in the hospital."
Wow.
And I'm thinking, you probably fucking put yourself in the hospital just to get away from your child. And it's
right.
Like, to be honest, when I was going through recovery, that was a huge aha moment for me when I was sick and I had to spend a lot of time in the hospital by myself. I had this fear that my husband was incapable of taking care of his own offspring.
Right.
And clearly he kept them alive and everything was fine. But I was like, wow, this is like a vacation. I'm like, wow, I need to upgrade my life if I think getting chemo every day for a week is a frickin' vacation.
Right.
This is awful.
Right.
And then I had to experiment with this process of filling my own cup first and seeing if, the thoughts and the stories that I was telling myself of that I'm a bad mother and I'm a failure and all of these things was kind of true. So I would practice because I, again, was afraid that I was going to die. So I'm like, I got to learn how to live. I got to fill myself up. And as I did it, I was like, wow, our life is so much fuller. I'm happier. My kids are happier. Wow, they're independent. Wow, I still spend so much time with them, but I don't need to be with them 24 hours a day. And I don't need to be their sole caregiver. And then I started doing research on the concept of motherhood. And, traditionally it was done in a village.
Exactly.
And community. And now we're so individualized and people won't even, sacrifice. And what I mean, sacrifice, because it does seem like it, a little bit of money to invest in the babysitter. Nope. Can't. If they're not my mom or, if they're not family, therefore they can't touch our children or come near them.
Right.
And like, what the heck? We're backing ourselves into a corner and then exhausted, burnt out, slowly dying and then projecting our anger onto the world and our children saying, look what you did to me. I sacrificed everything for you. And I'm like, I do not want my children to remember me that way. I do not want them to be angry and resentful and move halfway around the world just to get away from me because I was so controlling.
Oh my God. I love how you're talking about this right now. This is so good. And you're right. This is taboo, isn't it? This is totally taboo.
We might as well talk about sex and money and masturbation.
Hey, let's go there. We've got all day. This is, you're right. Like when we look back, they grew up in villages, there was everyone, it was like everyone was contributing to the growth of this child. It was not up to one or two people. And just from a developmental point of view, it allows a child to be flexible and know different character, traits and things like that. I believe it's in the best interest of a child to be around a lot of people as they're growing up.
Mm-hmm. Well, think about your own mentors in your life. It didn't come from one person, right? So I think about who shaped me the most. It wasn't just my parents. I mean, some of them didn't give me the best qualities, but other people, other adults in my life actually helped me to get to where I am today because I spent more time with them. Mm-hmm. And it's not good nor bad. We need it. I can't be everything to my children. I have strengths and I have weaknesses, and other people have strengths and weaknesses, and they're not going to want to learn everything from me. So I don't need to be, I don't need to be a musician. I don't need to know how to play music. I don't need to know how to play professional sports. I don't need to know how to draw. I don't need to know all of these things, but I can just be me and say, you know what? I think I really enjoy helping you understand your emotional intelligence and gain independence, but I don't need to be a Pinterest mom and know everything and be able to have matching clothes and all of these ridiculous things. And if that's your thing, then do it. But just be you. Be you, the best version of you, and stop going, oh my God, they did this. They went on that summer vacation. Oh, well, I didn't take my kids to Disney, so I'm failing already.
Right. Exactly. It's like that whole comparison trap, right? It doesn't end when we have kids. It keeps going.
It gets worse.
The Pinterest mom. I totally see those matching outfits. I'm like, I will never be that person. So what do you feel, what have your kids taught you? What's the best lessons? I'm around my partner's child a lot, and I'm like, God, this kid's teaching me so much. So what are your kids teaching you?
So much. But I remember thinking my oldest taught me how to live, meaning when I had him, I was like, oh, dang, I need to show up. So I've had to learn how to live multiple times in my life, and this will all be in a book one day. My middle one taught me how to laugh. He doesn't have a serious bone in his body. And even when I try to pretend or try to discipline him, oh my gosh, it's just comical. I can't keep a straight face. And I think he's going to be a comedian. He's just hilarious.
So good.
And then my youngest, he taught me how to trust myself. His whole, he's so patient. He's so kind. His whole birth was you got this, just keep going. And just who he is. He's this soft, gentle soul that's just content. And he's really all about trust.
I love that. What do you find is right now your biggest challenge with motherhood?
I don't know. I'm like, which one? Challenge wise I would say it's probably me. Always having to reassess the stories that come up in my mind of who my children need to be.
Right.
And their ever growing pace and developmental stages. So I see parenting as a relationship. So just like a marriage or any other relationship you have with someone, it's ever growing and evolving. And the second you think, oh, I got this, then you enter a new season in your life. So I think that's what it is that it's constantly evolving. But for some reason, and I don't know if I just had a mindset shift, I've come to really enjoy challenges in my life. I'm like, oh, I constantly need to be challenged. My husband thinks it's crazy because next on my bucket list is to mountain climb. I don't know why.
Amazing.
So I don't know why. I've never done it in my entire life. I never used to be this person. So I love it when, I'm like, why am I yelling so much? Or, oh, my son's really struggling with this. I'm like, yes, let's take it like head on. But I think it's just the evolution that it's a relationship and you're constantly going to be challenged.
I love that. I love that. Your relationship to challenge and your relationship to fear is so beautiful. And I think that's such a huge piece of advice to just, for those of you listening, like check in, what is your relationship to challenge and what is your relationship to fear? And if we can just work to reestablish those two very important things that come up, like they're going to come up all the time, right? Like fear comes up in my life constantly, every day. Mm-hmm. Challenge does as well. And if I'm trying to constantly dodge fear and dodge challenge, I'm not living. And I think automatically, without having the awareness, like this is the human condition of like trying to avoid pain.
Yeah. I always tell people, get comfortable with your discomfort. And I know that's kind of a common saying, but the more uncomfortable you can get, the better. And it's really interesting because I always want to dissect this relationship with suffering.
Oh yeah, let's go there. Let's do it.
Yeah. Suffering versus discomfort. And I feel like I'm not an expert on it. I don't know, maybe we can talk about it a little bit. Cause I'm like, suffering is like this thing you live with chronically. Like sometimes you feel a little comfortable with it. You're like, oh, I know this suffering. I've been there. It's like self-punishment or something. And then discomfort, it comes from this place of growth. And you're just like, oh, that's really uncomfortable. But right. I don't know, like I can't even put it into words, the difference. But I'm like, if we're willing to live in this state of chronic suffering or chronic pain, and then not choose to do whatever we need to do. Example, the first thing that comes to my mind is money, obviously. Well, not obviously, you wouldn't know that, but so if money comes to my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I have $1,000 in my savings account and I have $1,000 on a maxed out credit card, right? Mm-hmm. Oh my God, my credit. I have no more room on my credit card. And all I have to do is take it out of the savings account and put it on the Visa. Yeah. Like, and obviously this is just a made up example, but seeing how we have choice in that and we just decide to stay in a place of suffrage. But discomfort is, well, then I'm not going to have any savings left. Right. Great. Sit with that uncomfortable feeling and then figure out how you can save more money.
I love that.
What is your definition between those two?
Well, so I think for me, viscerally in my body, it's like it's a different frequency in my body. The difference between like, I say like pain and suffering of like, I know what pain feels like. And I also know what suffering feels like. And when I'm in suffering, the involvement of my stories in my mind is way more activated than when I'm in a state of pain. I can be in a state of pain and I've found like a felt sense of like safety in the experience of pain. Because like I've accessed how to feel the pain while also feeling into my heart and feeling the safety. And when I like resource the frequency of safety in my heart while experiencing the pain, it balances out and then I have perspective on it. But when I'm in suffering, I have no access to safety and my mind is going a million miles a minute. Yeah. Right. And so it's so easy for me to discern the difference. And it's just a question I ask myself, am I in pain or suffering right now? Because it's like, pain has been such an important piece of my, development and my growth and like who I am. And, changing the relationship to pain has allowed me to do, so many of the things that have brought me so much joy in my life. Like pain for me in so many ways is like the access to my joy. Yeah. But like, I don't know, like 8 months ago, I was experiencing like so much pain around like relationships. And it was like through the pain that I felt into what is now joy of, attracting this, like a new man into my life. But had I stayed in suffering, I would create meaning and stories around that sensation, which would drive me into suffering. And then that would expand and I wouldn't see the perspective. But when we can like feel the pain and know that it's like through it is where we experience the lightness. Like that's powerful. But it goes back to that thing of like, this is a new thing for me. And I say new within the last couple of years. My whole life, I was like, so good at suffering. So good at suffering.
Yeah. And I find pain is temporary, as they say, but it's not familiar to us. Right. So maybe that's why we're afraid of it, because we're like, oh, what's this? Oh,
right.
It's scary. Therefore I should push it away because, suffering, that's familiar.
Right.
That's familiar. So I think it's so unique and individual to every single person. But the more I'm like, oh man, this underlying discomfort I have going on here, it's turning into like a suffrage, and I don't like it. So I have to ask myself, what am I willing to do to create shifts? And sometimes I have to bring on more team members in my business. And then I watch myself being extremely uncomfortable, learning to trust and let go. But I know that's only temporary, and I know I'm going to grow through the process. Or it's, letting my son go to camp and me going, oh my God, I feel like he's leaving me forever. I'm like, Heather, he's just going to camp. Eventually he's going to leave you forever. So what are you going to do then?
Right. Absolutely.
It's really just sitting with that discomfort and not avoiding it to keep yourself safe.
So I used the word a couple of weeks ago. I was coaching one of my groups, and I used the word marinate. Like, can we marinate into the pain and like just feel fully into it without changing it, shifting it, distracting ourselves, or doing anything? And I was like coaching this through, and I was chatting to one of the women in the society in my group program. And then after, she came back the next week and she gave me this amazing analogy. So she went and she tried it, and she's like, oh my God, I totally get it. She's like, think about when you take meat and you marinate it, what happens to it? It softens. And that is exactly what happens when we allow ourselves to marinate into the sensation of pain. We soften. And I was like, isn't that cool?
And you're so much juicier and spicier.
Right, exactly. Because you have like a greater range of emotionality that we can move through. Your youngest is 4, you said?
Yeah, he's 5.
Yeah,
but
he's 5. So like his range of emotionality is probably like quite high and low, right? Like he can get like super high and really, and like that is aliveness. Like we talked about like fear being alive, and like sadness can also make us feel alive. And that's where we gather like so much energy to live a amazing life, rather than living this like numbed out life of like never really getting too happy and never really getting too sad. When we can fully go to the depths of like that sadness and that anger and that fear and that doubt and whatever is there, it allows us to elevate into those higher states of consciousness.
Yes.
So good.
It's like an Oreo cookie.
Oh my God, I love that. Man, I love Oreos. They're so good.
Now I want one.
Do you like eat the Oreo like just fully, or do you like the icing out?
I don't eat Oreos.
Oh, dang.
No.
Hey, I'm actually curious. I know you said this is for another conversation, but I'm just going to like go on like a huge tangent right now and talk about like, you don't drink much coffee?
I'll have a coffee a day, and that's only been recent that I've been able to drink that. Before I had to stop because it gave me so much anxiety because my nutrition was not good.
That's so interesting. I just did like 30 days of no coffee, and I felt amazing. And I started having it again, and I'm like, I don't think this shit's for me. Even though like my mind likes it, it's like my body's not a fan.
I haven't had a drink this year in 2018. Like not a glass of wine, not nothing.
Really?
Previously, I would drink maybe 5 times a year. Like I was never a big drinker, but it just doesn't agree with me. Like the sugars just throw my body off. And there's been many times, first it was like the social anxiety of what am I going to tell people? And now I'm just like, yeah, I do it for health reasons and energy reasons. And I get so many people that are like, I wish I could do that.
Right.
I wish. Like, don't be afraid. Lean in. It's not going to kill you.
I totally agree.
Look at your shit.
Yeah, 100%. Alcohol gives me like mad anxiety the next day. I just feel like I feel like a bag of balls the next day. I'm like, oh God, this is horrible.
Yeah. That's all us sensitive souls, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone who is in any form of healthcare or healing or coaching, we all have this little twinkle in our eye where we see each other like, I know you. We're the empaths. We're the children of, the women that I work with now. They're like, I don't understand my child. And I'm like, that's because you're raising this empathetic, sensitive soul who is here to make a difference in the world, but they don't understand how to manage their energy. And we're taught the complete opposite. And then we're like, why am I a weirdo? And we're not weirdos. We just need to find each other and say, oh, we're like a different breed of humans.
I love that. Oh, that's so good. So you're amazing. I could literally, I feel like I'm just like talking to an old friend. I could talk to you all day.
I see you. You're twinkling your eye.
It's so good. I know this podcast has been, so beneficial, not only for the moms in our audience, but for our entire audience. I know we're going to get incredible reviews and feedback on this one. So thank you for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and your way of being in this new way. And I think, man, I just fully support who you are. I admire it. I am excited to do motherhood like you are doing it. And I'm so grateful that I have you in my life now as an incredible role model. So thanks, Heather. I appreciate you.
Thank you. It's, like even you saying that, I'm like, okay, there's people listening. Even though I know there's people listening, people will say that, but the confirmation of this is the bigger lesson here of be yourself, because other people are waiting for you to be yourself. And then you're giving them permission to go, yes, I'm not alone. So yeah, thank you.
I love it. I love it. So where can we find you? How can we get amongst your goodness?
Yeah. So you can just find me on my website, heatherchauvin.com, last name spelled CHAUVIN.com, or my podcast is called Mom is in Control, and that's on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever, Spotify. Yeah.
I love it.
And I'm hanging out more on Instagram these days.
Are you?
Yeah.
I love Instagram. I'm a big fan of Instagram.
I actually don't enjoy social media at all, but if I had to stick with one, it would be Instagram.
Yeah. It's a lot more personal.
Yeah.
Well, my love, thank you so much for being on the show. For everyone listening, we'll put all of Heather's links in the show notes, so it's super easy for you to find her, and her content's amazing. Go check out her podcast. And Heather, thank you so much for being here and sharing all this goodness with our community.
Thank you, Samantha. This has been so much fun. I'm tired. I need to
just don't have coffee.
No coffee.
All righty. Have a beautiful day. Thank you so much for everyone listening, and we will catch you next week for another episode. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening to this episode on the Hungry for Happiness podcast. You can join the conversation with women just like yourself at hungryonfacebook.com. Until next week, ladies, stay classy and badassy.